Against all the evil that hell can conjure, all the wickedness that mankind can produce, we will send unto them only you. Rip and tear until it is done.
Welcome back to It's Current Year for another quick battle ladder replay. I'm playing the Lizardmen and I'm up against Power Lich, who is playing quite aptly the Vampire Counts, led by a Lich of sorts, Mr. Helmine Gorst, on the Mosquito Swamps, which is actually kind of a cool map. It's not, I wouldn't say it's up to tournament standards in terms of its fairness, but yeah, I actually like this map. Quite cool. You know, you've got the vegetation and all around, and some undulations here. So you do have to be sort of careful in the way you understand sort of maps like this that have sort of this, I guess, sort of hidden terrain, if you like. So for my opponent, playing the Vampire Counts, a couple of Fellbats in the air, a zombie front line, as you'd expect to see. Graveguard with great weapons in behind that. Very good in this matchup because they do churn through Saurus Warriors quite effectively. On the other flank over here, we have some Black Knights in the forest. They are hidden from me. We've got a Vampire of Death up on the Hellsteed in the air, which I think normally is quite a good pick. She's just got the Immortal Will for the self-heal and the Spirit Leech, so she can Spirit Leech sort of Pterodons. It's good anti-Pterodon play. We've got a Vargulf, in fact I believe 2 Vargulfs in the rear here, just for some single target DPS. They're very, very good monsters, obviously regen, quite self-sufficient. And in the back here, some Crypt Horrors, bodyguarding the Gorst Man himself. So Gorst's in here on his cart with his dead brothers towing him around. He has taken the Liber Noctis, no doubt going to, be shotgunning out the gaze of Nagash. He obviously has all kinds of AoEs that heal, cause damage. He is a Mortis Engine. So there's some pretty good healing auras here. Still a bit surprised not to see... oh, hang on, we do have, actually, now that I remember, we do have another Necromancer over here. So Necromancer taking the Forbidden Rod, so a bit of a mana battery. He's got the summon, the Raised Dead summon, and also Invocation. And again, some good AoEs here, some melee stats and some healing over here as a Necromancer. So yes, lots of magic in this build and lots of potential to regen Winds of Magic. Quite a nice build. I'm quite a fan of it. Over here, for my forces, up in the front, we have 4 units of Chameleon Stalkers. They can come forward, shoot their payloads off, potentially try and thin out the Graveguard a little bit. Got to try not to waste them on zombies, which can be a bit tough at times, but that's part of the game. Skink cohorts with Javs in behind them. Some red crested skinks in the rear here. 2 just normal units. I haven't gone with the ROR today. We've got the Umbral Tide. Again, very, very high DPS unit with their flaming attacks. Lots of good targets here because there's plenty of stuff that is weak to fire, particularly the Vargulfs that are quite problematic and are sort of the bodyguards of Gorst. We've also got the Star Chamber Guardians. Magic attacks, great stats, anti-large, lots of leadership. They're 100 leadership is very, very hard to break. They fight till the very last. They are also a Guardian unit, so if my Lord, which we will see in a sec, goes anywhere near them, benefits from physical resistance. And in the air, here is my little core of damage dealers. We've got some Ripidactyls, we've got the Colossedon Hunters, and we have Tiktaq'to up in the skies, who has Master of the Skies, as well as the Mask of Heavens to obviously buff the troops around him. Melee defense and armor, pretty handy on units like the Ripidactyls because they might hit like trucks, but they are made of wet tissue paper. On the floor here, we also have a Skink Priest of Beasts. I have come in with Pan's Impenetrable Pelt and Flock of Doom. Didn't bother with the Manticore Summon because I've got plenty of AoE damage in, well, not AoE damage, but just DPS potential in the sky already. So we're going to fan out with our Rippers and we see our first little target, the Vampire of Death. You're going to see the Colossedon Hunters and Tiktaq'to come around this way, and we're going to try and pull around this way and try and box in the vampire, because if these Colossodon hunters get anywhere near this vampire, they will kill her in a matter of seconds. It's actually insane. Although Spirit Leech should be being used here, because Spirit Leech is quite nasty against Pterodons and Ripperdactyls and those kinds of units. So I do see the bats here, so I'm going to try and pull out. I was trying to pull away so I didn't reveal myself, but unfortunately I have been revealed. But the bats are being brought over to respond to the vampire being harassed by these rippers. Unfortunately, she does slip me, but look at the damage taken from the Umbral Tide. Even the skinks trying to poison her now, they're going to get on top. They're going to be able to get on top of her now that the bats have come in and that she's been poisoned. And look at the bats. Look how quickly the bats are being eviscerated by these Ripperdactyls. There was a gaze that tried to go down on Tiktaq'to. Unfortunately, I am standing still here, and the Liber Noctis means he's going to be able to cycle out 2 of those, and Tiktaq'to takes a nasty blow early in the game. I'm sort of just floating around with Tiktaq'to. I'm happy with the way... I'm happy with this fight. Like, this is not going to go well for this vampire. You're going to see her health just get absolutely shredded here. There's no real way for her to get to the ground either, because none of my ground forces are over here. And elsewhere, Stalkers are pressing in. Red Crests are coming up to meet the Black Knights. In patches gone by, Red Crests were excellent cheap armoured cav counters because of the interaction between infantry and cav. Not so much anymore, but Vampire's dead. Colossodon hunters have made a bit of an inroads, or they've lost half their health, but they've only lost 1 unit model, and now we see the Black Knights, who once again are just going to absolutely get slaughtered by Ripperdactyls and the Colossodon hunters. They're going to be brought down very soon. Tic-Tac is going to land with the hopes of distracting this Varghulf, because if I can turn and burn with these Umbral Tide, you're going to see this Varghulf really, really take a world of hurt. And there we go. Flaming attacks, weak to fire, not a lot of armor. He did get an attack animation in there, which unfortunately did sort of allow him to dodge a lot of the shots. Out here, Varghulf just attacking my Chameleon Stalkers. That's not really a big deal for me. Overchasing a little bit with these Graveguard, but we're going to pull them out of the fight. The Star Chamber Guardians are very, very healthy. The Ripperdactyls have finished off the Black Knights, and even though a lot of my frontline, my Chameleon Stalkers, and probably some of my cohorts, and even these Red Crests are being sort of beaten back now, Tic-Tac's taken a little bit of damage, but this Varghulf is going to go down. Lack of pressure now onto the Umbral Tide. Skink cohorts are just going to sit out here because they're not needed really elsewhere, and we've got a unit of Graveguard just sitting idle as these Stalkers come back into the fight. Gorst has been absolutely surrounded, and even though he is a Mortis engine and he's doing some, draining damage, as we see here, the effect going down on the unit models, there's not much he can do about Tic-Tac-Toe. The Colossodon hunters, they have popped, I believe they did pop their Toad Rage, hence why they were rampaging. And yeah, this Varghulf's gonna try valiantly to get back against, and try and relieve the Gorst man, but it's just not going to happen. And a pretty convincing win in the end for the Lizardmen. Gorst getting a little bit isolated. The Varghulfs now, with the lack of leadership, are going to be brought down. The other Necromancer, I believe, did go down to the Star Chamber Guardians, who are very, very healthy. And a bit surprised we haven't really hit army losses. It's probably just that the Colossodon hunters and my own Ripperdactyls, or the other Ripperdactyls, are actually very, very healthy. But that's going to be army losses, a pretty comfortable win. And yeah, once again, where are they? Look at that. I don't take these guys very often, but every time I do, they do some serious work. They're the ultimate set and forget unit. If there's a large target, I've had a few here to take my pick on. They could have gone after either of the Varghulfs. They could have potentially gone after the Crypt Horrors, which are a good sort of mass block of the Gorst. They got to grips with the Vampire in the air. Even the Black Knights, you saw the way they dealt with them with their anti-large. If there is a high value target, something like a dragon, a lord on a monster, you just click these guys on it and they just remove it. And they might die, because like I said, they're very squishy, but God, they deal they deal shitloads of damage. And other Rippers, very healthy. Didn't quite make their cost back, but they've just been a good troubleshooting unit. They managed to do some recharging on the Grave Guards in the front line as well. Umbral Tide also getting their cost back. Plenty of good targets here. You know, both the Vargulfs, you can shoot Gorst as well. The Necromancers, weak to fire. Even the Crypt Ghouls. Even something like Blood Knights, if you can, you know, obviously no Blood Knights here, but if you can stabilize, if you can buy them some time, even just with some cohorts, who've all done reasonably well. They've fired all their jabs off. Made a bit over half their cost back, which I'd say is actually reasonably good for skink cohorts. These guys can put a lot of work in with their flaming fire, and the fact that they are stalked means that they can usually get a couple of volleys off before they're revealed, and you know, pick their target quite well. Do have to be careful of Spirit Leech, because these guys can take a fair bit of damage to Spirit Leech and do take model losses. And they also can be rampage, but I mean, you've got 2 cold-blooded, or you've got primal instincts, I think it is with Tiktaq'to, and you've got cold-blooded here with your chief. Tiktaq's kind of just flown around. He's not really that much more expensive than that, so the fact that he hasn't put, you know, a power of working isn't a massive deal. Obviously, Gaze of Nagash can be quite a pain for him. But the rest of the forces just chipped in and done their bit. The Red Crests have done okay. Star Chamber Guardians very healthy, got over a K value. But yeah, the damage dealers in this list all had good targets and were all able to pretty much get onto those targets. The list here for Power Lich, Gorst is quite popular here, but you do have to take obviously some insurance against Pterodons if you are going to sort of not commit fully to the air with a Dragon Lord or a Strigoi on a tomb, on a Terrorghast and things like that. So I think the Vampire and 2 Fellbats probably doesn't quite cut it. You probably could have gone a little bit heavier into the air, just with some more Fellbats, just to push these guys back. I mean, Ripperdactyls will obviously deal with Fellbats just fine, but if you can buy time with a unit like Fellbats for more Spirit Leeches, you can potentially win the air, and then you can sort of fly around them. And the Vampire of Death's a good combatant. She can potentially snipe out other stuff as well. Spirit Leech, as I said, very good, effective against a unit like the Umbral Tide, good against Pterodons and Ripperdactyls and that kind of thing. So yeah, overall this list, it's okay. Obviously, you know, Graveguard, good here. Vargulf's good here. Crypt Horrors I like because you need some mass. The Vargulf's probably just got too far away from Helm and Gorst, because they do need to sort of babysit him a little bit. So yeah, I mean, the makings of a decent list here. Probably just a few little tinkers that need to be made. But yeah, like I said, every time I use these guys, they just do really well. So yeah, Colossodon Hunters and Tiktaq, nice little air squad. Doesn't cost, I think it costs about 2.5k, but they can really put some work in, provided they've got some good targets. All right, anyway, thanks for checking out the video, and we'll be back with more soon. Until then,
rip and tear.